Hello and welcome in. I'm really glad you ended up here tonight. Wherever you are, let this moment be yours. Let everything slow down just a little. Let the sounds fade into the background. Let the sharp edges of the day soften, and allow your thoughts to settle gently like leaves drifting onto calm water. Tonight, we're staying right here on Earth. No distant galaxies, no far-off futures. Just this planet alive beneath us, filled with quiet wonders most of us never stop to notice. Life on Earth is stranger, tougher, and more astonishing than we usually give it credit for. From oceans that glow in the dark to creatures that seem to ignore the rules of aging. From hidden forests beneath the soil to microscopic beings that can survive the vacuum of space, this world is alive in ways that surprise, comfort, and quietly move us. Some of these stories might shift how you see the world tomorrow. Others might simply drift past, light and curious, leaving behind a feeling rather than a fact. If this kind of calm curiosity brings you comfort or sparks something warm inside you, consider liking and subscribing. It helps other tired minds find their way here too, one peaceful night at a time. But for now, get comfortable. Take a slow breath in, and let's begin this gentle journey through the quiet miracles of life on Earth. Near warm coastal waters, especially in the Mediterranean but also across oceans worldwide, drifts a small, translucent creature that quietly breaks one of nature's oldest rules. It's called Turritopsis dohrnii, often known as the immortal jellyfish. When most living things age, they move in one direction only, birth to life to death. But this jellyfish does something extraordinary. When it's injured, stressed, or simply old, it can reverse its own life cycle. Its body transforms back into an earlier stage, returning to its polyp form, the jellyfish version of childhood, and begins again. This isn't a theory or a legend. Scientists have watched it happen again and again under controlled conditions. The same individual can cycle through life repeatedly, potentially forever, unless it's eaten or destroyed. It doesn't unlock eternal life for humans, but it offers a quiet reminder that nature's creativity runs far deeper than our expectations. Out there, floating slowly through the water, is a being that doesn't fear time, it simply starts over. Above ground, forests seem still, calm, silent. But beneath your feet, something remarkable is happening. Trees, once thought to stand alone, are connected by vast underground networks of fungi called mycorrhizae. These fine, thread-like structures link roots together, forming pathways that allow trees to exchange nutrients, send chemical signals, and even warn one another of danger. Older trees, sometimes called mother trees, support younger ones by sending them sugars and resources through this hidden system. A birch may feed a nearby fir. A dying tree may pass on its remaining energy. This isn't poetic language, it's biology. Some researchers now call it the Wood Wide Web, a living network that turns an entire forest into a shared system rather than a collection of individuals. In this quiet, unseen world, cooperation is the rule, not the exception. Then there are creatures so small they look unreal under a microscope. Tardigrades, often called water bears, are less than a millimeter long and shaped like tiny wrinkled toys. But they are nearly indestructible. They can survive extreme cold, intense heat, crushing pressure, massive radiation, and even the vacuum of space. In 2007, scientists sent them into orbit. They came back alive. Their secret is a state called cryptobiosis. When conditions become unbearable, tardigrades dry themselves almost completely and shut down their metabolism. They don't die. They wait. Years can pass, decades, possibly longer. And when water returns, they wake up and continue as if nothing happened. They remind us that life doesn't always resist change. Sometimes it endures by becoming still. Long before animals walked the land or plants reached toward the sun, Earth's atmosphere was very different. Oxygen, the gas that fills your lungs with every breath, was once deadly. Early life forms thrived without it. These anaerobic organisms ruled a planet where oxygen was toxic. Then came cyanobacteria, tiny microbes that released oxygen as a byproduct of photosynthesis. At first, it was barely noticeable. But over millions of years, oxygen accumulated in the oceans and the air, triggering what's now called the Great Oxidation Event. For many ancient species, it was catastrophic. Oxygen damaged cells and destroyed entire ecosystems. A mass extinction followed, but from that devastation came opportunity. Oxygen allowed new, more complex life to emerge. In a strange twist, the breath that sustains you today carries the memory of an ancient extinction within it. Plants, too, hold surprises. We often imagine them as gentle and passive, quietly soaking in sunlight. But some plants hunt. Carnivorous plants like Venus flytraps, pitcher plants, and sundews lure insects with sweet scents or glistening nectar. The Venus flytrap even counts how many times its prey touches trigger hairs before snapping shut. Pitcher plants form deep, slippery chambers filled with digestive fluids. Sundews slowly curl sticky tendrils around anything unlucky enough to land on them. They don't do this out of cruelty. They do it to survive. These plants live in soil lacking essential nutrients, especially nitrogen. So instead of claws or teeth, they evolved patience and clever design. A reminder that survival takes many shapes, and even the softest leaf may hide a quiet hunger. Hold a leaf up to the light and you'll see something extraordinary. Veins branch like rivers across its surface, carrying water, minerals, and sugars. Tiny pores called stomata open and close, breathing carbon dioxide in and oxygen out. Chlorophyll captures sunlight and turns it into energy that feeds nearly every food chain on Earth. Some leaves follow the sun. Others repel water or trap insects. No two are exactly alike. Each one is a small, living machine, fragile and precise, alive with purpose. And sometimes, when night falls along certain coastlines, the ocean itself begins to glow. Tiny organisms called bioluminescent plankton release light when disturbed by waves or movement. The water flashes blue-green, not from reflection but from chemistry. Cold light created inside living cells. In places like Mosquito Bay or the Maldives, entire shorelines shimmer. No electricity, no magic, just life, quietly shining in the dark. You might think of yourself as one person, one body moving through the world. But in truth, you're more like a traveling ecosystem. Your body is home to trillions of microbes, bacteria, viruses, fungi, and archaea living on your skin, in your mouth, and throughout your gut. Collectively, this living population is called your microbiome. And it isn't just along for the ride. These microscopic companions help digest your food, regulate your immune system, produce essential vitamins, and even influence your mood and behavior. In many ways, the microbiome acts like a second layer of intelligence, quietly working alongside your own cells. Some microbes defend you from harmful invaders, others compete for space and resources. No two people have the same microbial makeup. Just like fingerprints, your internal ecosystem is uniquely yours. So when the world feels lonely, remember this: you are never truly alone. You are a moving world carrying countless lives within you. In the forests of South America, another kind of collective intelligence reveals itself. Army ants march in massive columns, flowing across the ground like a living current. When they encounter a gap, a broken branch, or open space, they don't stop. They become the solution. One ant grips a surface, another climbs onto it, then another. Soon, hundreds or thousands of ants link together, forming a living bridge made entirely of bodies. These bridges flex and adjust as ants cross over them. When the colony has passed, the bridge dissolves and the ants continue on their way. No ant is in charge. There's no blueprint. Each individual responds only to local signals, simple rules, and physical contact. Yet together, they create something astonishing, a structure that exists only as long as it's needed. Life solving problems by becoming the answer. Beneath the waves, intelligence takes an even stranger turn. Octopuses are already famous for their problem-solving skills, their curiosity, and their ability to squeeze through impossibly small spaces, but inside their cells lies something almost unheard of. Octopuses can edit their own RNA. While most animals rely on a fixed genetic script, octopuses can make real-time adjustments to how their genes are expressed. This means they can fine-tune how their neurons work, how they respond to temperature, and how they process sensory information. It's not the same as rewriting DNA, but it gives them a level of biological flexibility that borders on science fiction. Scientists are still trying to understand why they evolved this ability. It only adds to the mystery of a creature that already feels like it belongs to another world. Self-awareness, something we often think of as uniquely human, also appears in unexpected places. Many animals can see their reflection, but very few seem to recognize themselves. The mirror test is one way scientists explore this. An animal is marked with a spot they can only see using a mirror. If they investigate the mark on their own body, it suggests they understand the reflection is themselves. Only a small number of species have passed: great apes, dolphins, elephants, magpies, possibly manta rays. Even some fish show signs of this awareness. It doesn't mean they think like humans, but it suggests that the sense of self may not belong to us alone. Across the tree of life, awareness flickers in minds shaped very differently from our own. Life itself has faced destruction again and again. Over the last 500 million years, Earth has experienced at least 5 mass extinction events. Each one wiped out the majority of species alive at the time. The most severe, the Permian extinction, eliminated more than 90% of marine life. Volcanoes erupted, climates shifted, and yet, each time life returned. Not the same life, but something new. Survivors adapted, ecosystems rebuilt themselves. Small, overlooked organisms became the ancestors of entirely new worlds. Life doesn't simply cling to existence. It transforms, reshapes, and reinvents itself. We are here because something endured unimaginable change and kept going. In shaded forests, a darker story unfolds. Certain fungi infect insects, taking control in a way that feels unsettling. Once inside an ant, the fungus releases chemicals that alter behavior. The ant climbs high into vegetation, clamps onto a leaf, and stops moving. The fungus then kills its host and grows outward, releasing spores to infect others below. It's a precise cycle, refined over millions of years. Scientists still don't fully understand how the fungus manipulates the nervous system so effectively. It's a reminder that nature isn't only gentle. It's strategic, complex, and sometimes deeply strange. Blue, despite how common it seems, is one of the rarest colors in nature. Most animals you think of as blue aren't actually pigmented that way. Their color comes from microscopic structures that bend and scatter light. Feathers, scales, and wings manipulate wavelengths, reflecting blue without using dye at all. True blue pigments are difficult for living organisms to produce. That makes every flash of natural blue a kind of illusion, a dance between light and structure. When you see blue in the wild, you're watching physics and biology meet at a very small scale. On the African savanna, elephants show something that feels deeply familiar. When they encounter the bones of a deceased companion, they slow down. They touch the remains with their trunks. They linger. Some return years later. Others stay close to dying herd members, refusing to leave. Their grief may not mirror ours exactly, but it is real. Elephants form long-lasting bonds. They remember individuals. They carry emotional weight. It's a quiet reminder that empathy and loss are not exclusively human traits. Coral reef, vibrant and bursting with life, are built by animals so small they're almost invisible. Each coral polyp secretes calcium carbonate, forming a hard skeleton. Over time, these structures accumulate, building vast underwater cities that support enormous biodiversity. Though reefs cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, they support nearly a quarter of all marine life. Delicate, colorful, and fragile, they show how immense beauty can rise from countless tiny efforts, repeated patiently over time. Then there are slime molds, single-celled organisms with no brain, no nerves, no plan, and yet they can solve mazes. In experiments, slime molds spread outward, exploring every path, then retracting, leaving behind the most efficient route to food. It's not thought, it's chemistry. Feedback loops written into living matter. Intelligence, it turns out, doesn't always need a mind high above the forest floor. Something vast and invisible is always moving. The Amazon rainforest doesn't just receive rain, it helps create it. Every day, billions of trees release moisture into the air through their leaves in a process called transpiration. As sunlight warms the canopy, this water vapor rises, cools, and condenses into clouds which then fall back as rain. The forest feeds itself. This cycle is so powerful it shapes weather across an entire continent and even influences rainfall far beyond South America. The Amazon is not just a place filled with trees. It's a breathing system, inhaling sunlight and exhaling rain. When sections of the forest are lost, the cycle weakens, the air dries, the balance shifts. What looks like a collection of plants is actually a living engine, quietly regulating the sky above it. In colder parts of the world, life has learned a different kind of patience. Some frogs don't flee winter. They surrender to it. The wood frog of North America can freeze solid. Its heart stops. Its blood turns to ice. Its organs shut down completely. For days or even weeks, it exists in a state that looks indistinguishable from death, but special antifreeze chemicals protect its cells from damage. When spring returns, the ice melts. The heart starts beating again. The frog wakes up and hops away. It's not metaphorical. It's biological resurrection shaped by evolution, a reminder that life doesn't always avoid extremes. Sometimes it learns how to pass through them. Far below the ocean's surface, sound travels farther than light. In this dark, open world, whales sing. Blue whale calls can travel thousands of miles underwater, deep low, frequency sounds that roll through the sea like slow, moving thunder. These calls are used to communicate, to navigate, and to find one another across vast distances. Different populations have different dialects. Some songs change over time, passed down and altered like cultural traditions. Humpback whales, in particular, create long, complex melodies that evolve year by year. We don't fully understand their meaning, but we know they matter. These are not random noises. They are messages carried through an ancient ocean by creatures older than any human story. On land, stillness hides another kind of time travel. Seeds may look lifeless, small and dry, but they are anything but. Inside each one is a complete blueprint for life, wrapped in patience. Some seeds can remain dormant for decades or centuries. In one remarkable case, a date palm seed over 2,000 years old was successfully germinated. It had waited through empires rising and falling, through silence and burial, until the moment was right. Seeds are built for endurance. Thick coats protect them from fire, freezing, and decay. Chemical signals tell them when to wake. They do not rush, they wait. And when conditions finally align, they begin again. A quiet promise sealed inside a shell. Light, too, has its own story. Bioluminescence, the ability to produce light through chemical reactions, has evolved independently dozens of times. Fireflies flash, plankton shimmer. Deep sea fish glow with eerie precision. The chemistry is simple and elegant. An enzyme interacts with a molecule, releasing energy as visible light. This glow is used for communication, camouflage, attraction, and defense. In the deep ocean, where sunlight never reaches, bioluminescence is everywhere, a drifting constellation of living stars. Life found a way to write light into itself, again and again across evolution. And then there's you, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon that forms your cells. These elements were forged in ancient stars. In the final moments of massive stars, heavier elements are created through nuclear fusion. When those stars explode, their contents scatter into space, becoming dust, clouds, and eventually planets. Over time, those elements came together on this small blue world. Oceans formed, life began, and now those same materials make up your body. You are not separate from the universe. You are the universe arranged into a form that can breathe, feel, and wonder. While we see the world through one narrow band of light, many insects see something entirely different. Bees, for example, can see ultraviolet light. Flowers that look plain to us blaze with hidden patterns to them. Dark rings, glowing guides, landing paths pointing straight to nectar. These patterns evolve through cooperation. The insect finds food. The plant gets pollinated. Other insects use ultraviolet vision to navigate, find mates, or avoid danger. We share the same planet but not the same visual world. There's a hidden layer of color all around us, just beyond human sight. In the Australian outback, time bends in another way. Kangaroos have the ability to pause their pregnancies. When conditions are harsh or when a mother is already caring for a joey, development of a fertilized egg can be delayed. This process, called embryonic diapause, allows the embryo to wait until conditions improve. A mother kangaroo can be nursing one joey, carrying another in her pouch, and holding a third in paws all at once. When food becomes plentiful, development resumes. It's a survival strategy perfectly tuned to an unpredictable environment. Time, in this case, is flexible. In coral reefs, identity itself can shift. Some fish can change sex. Clownfish live in small groups led by a single breeding female. If she dies, the dominant male transforms into a female, both behaviorally and biologically. Hormones shift, organs change, roles reverse. In other species, females become males when the situation demands it. This flexibility helps maintain reproduction in dynamic environments. In the ocean, life doesn't always fit into fixed categories. It adapts, responds, and reshapes itself when needed. Above the oceans and continents, birds migrate with astonishing precision. Every year they cross mountains, deserts, and open water, returning to the same places again and again. Part of their navigation comes from sensing Earth's magnetic field. Some birds have tiny magnetic particles in their bodies. Others may see magnetic fields as visual patterns. This sense, called magnetoreception, works alongside the sun, stars, and memory. They don't just fly by instinct. They feel the invisible forces of the planet itself. Earth, after all, is always moving, always cycling. Carbon flows through air, water, soil, plants, animals, and stone. You breathe it out. Plants breathe it in. It becomes leaves, muscle, shell, and bone. Volcanoes release it. Oceans absorb it. Over time, it becomes rock or fuel or sky again. This cycle helps regulate climate and sustain life. Right now, it's out of balance, but understanding it reminds us that Earth isn't static. It breathes, slowly, steadily, a living system turning through time. Long before animals walked on land or forests stretched toward the sky, bacteria were already shaping the surface of the planet. Some of the oldest structures on Earth are not temples or mountains, but living formations built by microbes. They're called stromatolites. Found in shallow waters, these layered, rock-like shapes are created by cyanobacteria that trap and bind sediment over time, slowly building upward, layer by layer. Fossilized stromatolites date back more than 3.5 billion years. They are among the earliest physical records of life on Earth. These tiny builders didn't just leave marks in stone. Through photosynthesis, they released oxygen into the atmosphere, changing the planet forever and paving the way for complex life. Even today, living stromatolites can still be found in a few places, quietly growing as they have for billions of years. Builders without hands, architects without eyes, patient life laying the foundation for everything that followed. Out in the open ocean, communication takes on a surprisingly personal form. Dolphins live in complex, ever-changing social groups, and they seem to recognize one another by name. Each dolphin develops a unique signature whistle early in life, a sound that functions like an individual identifier. Other dolphins learn these whistles and use them to call specific individuals. When researchers play back a dolphin's own whistle, the dolphin responds strongly, much like a person turning when they hear their name spoken. This isn't simple mimicry, it's recognition. It suggests memory, identity, and social awareness woven into sound. Beneath the waves, dolphins call out to one another, maintaining bonds in a shifting, fluid world. Deserts too carry memories. Today, the Sahara is vast, hot, and dry, but thousands of years ago, it was green. Rain fell regularly. Rivers flowed. Lakes dotted the landscape. Elephants, crocodiles, giraffes, and humans lived there. Cave paintings remain, showing scenes of abundant life where sand now dominates. This period, known as the African humid period, was driven by subtle shifts in Earth's orbit that strengthened monsoon rains. When those shifts reversed, the rains faded and the desert returned. Beneath the sand lie ancient lake beds, fossils, and traces of a softer world. The Sahara is not just emptiness. It's a reminder that landscape, like life, can change completely and change again. Small creatures often carry the biggest surprises. Bees, with brains no larger than a grain of rice, can understand the concept of zero. In experiments, bees were trained to associate fewer objects with a reward. When presented with a blank option, no shapes at all, they chose it correctly. They grasped that none is less than some. This kind of abstract reasoning was once thought to belong only to large-brained animals. Bees challenge that assumption. Intelligence, it seems, is not just about size, it's about structure, need, and evolution finding a way. In Yellowstone National Park, the return of wolves set off a chain reaction no one fully predicted. Wolves reduced overgrazing by deer and elk. Vegetation along riverbanks recovered. Trees grew taller. Birds returned. Beavers built dams. With stronger plant life holding soil in place, rivers became more stable, their paths subtly reshaped. This phenomenon is called a trophic cascade. One species, simply by existing in its role, transformed an entire ecosystem. The land itself responded. It's a powerful reminder that nature is deeply interconnected. Pull one thread, and the whole pattern shifts. Flowers, often seen as silent and still, are more responsive than they appear. Some plants can detect the sound of a pollinator's wings. When bees approach, the vibrations cause certain flowers to produce sweeter nectar within minutes. The petals act like tiny sensory organs, tuned to specific frequencies. The flower doesn't hear in the way we do, but it senses vibration and responds. The bee arrives, the nectar improves. A quiet exchange unfolds. The garden, it turns out, is not silent. It hums with subtle conversations. On rocks, tree bark, and mountainsides, lichens cling to life in places few others can survive. They look simple, but they are partnerships. A lichen is made of at least two organisms, a fungus and an alga or cyanobacterium, living together as one. The fungus provides structure and protection. The photosynthetic partner provides food. It's not always an equal relationship, but it works. Together, lichens endure extreme cold, heat, and dryness. They break down rock into soil and help build ecosystems from bare stone. Two lives intertwined, surviving where neither could alone. Tardigrades return again, quietly waiting at the edges of possibility. When conditions become unbearable, they curl into a dormant state called a ton. In this form, they shut down nearly all biological activity. Years can pass, decades, perhaps longer. When water returns, they unfold and continue. Some scientists believe tardigrades could survive events that wipe out most life on Earth. They are not invincible, but they are remarkably prepared, tiny, resilient, and endlessly patient. Underground naked mole rats live lives unlike almost any other mammal. They don't age the way most animals do. Their risk of death doesn't increase significantly over time. They resist cancer. They tolerate low oxygen. They can live for decades. For a rodent, that's extraordinary. They live in eusocial colonies with a single breeding queen, much like insects. Scientists study them for clues about longevity and cellular stability. In dark tunnels beneath the ground, these wrinkled creatures carry secrets that challenge what we think aging has to be. You too are made of countless parts working together. Around 30 trillion human cells coordinate to keep you alive. Muscle cells contract, neurons fire, blood cells carry oxygen, immune cells defend, skin renews. All of it happens quietly, constantly. Cells die and are replaced every day. You are not fixed. You are rebuilt piece by piece, a living collaboration, humming softly beneath your awareness. One being made of many. Parrots remind us again that intelligence wears many faces. Some species can count, recognize patterns, and understand abstract concepts. They solve problems, use tools, and navigate complex social worlds. When a parrot speaks, it's not always just repetition. There may be intention behind the sound. Bright feathers, sharp minds, and a different path to awareness shaped by evolution in its own way. And then there is the ocean. Covering more than 70% of Earth's surface, it holds most of the planet's life. From plankton to whales, from coral reefs to deep trenches, the sea is vast, alive, and still largely unexplored. Even a single drop of seawater contains worlds within it. The greatest wilderness on Earth isn't green, it's blue. In a quiet grove in Utah stands something that looks ordinary at first glance. A cluster of quaking aspen trees, their pale trunks rising together, leaves trembling softly in the breeze. But beneath the surface, this is not many trees, it is one. This organism is known as Pando, a single living being connected by an enormous root system. Every trunk you see is genetically identical, a stem growing from the same ancient source. Pando may be more than 80,000 years old. Individual trunks die and are replaced, but the organism itself endures. It has survived ice ages, droughts, storms, and the slow passage of time. A forest that is also a single life, quiet, patient, still reaching upward. When we think of viruses, we usually think of illness and fear, but viruses are more complex than that. Not all of them harm us. Some help regulate ecosystems. Some attack dangerous bacteria in our bodies. Others have woven themselves into our DNA over millions of years. In fact, nearly 8% of the human genome comes from ancient viral material. Some of these inherited viral genes are now essential, involved in processes like brain development and reproduction. Viruses are not just invaders. They are part of life's long story. Threads stitched into our biology, sometimes destructive, sometimes protective, always influential. Sharks carry another reminder of deep time. They have been swimming through Earth's oceans for over 400 million years. Trees appeared tens of millions of years later. Sharks lived before forests cast shadows on land. They survived mass extinctions that erased countless other species, including the one that ended the age of dinosaurs. Their body plan has changed little because it works. Today, sharks range from gentle giants to sleek hunters, but all carry a lineage almost unimaginably old. When a shark moves through the water, it carries history with it. In another quiet corner of nature, flowers respond to sound. Certain plants can detect the vibration of a bee's wings. When that familiar buzz approaches, the flower increases the sweetness of its nectar within minutes. The petals vibrate, acting like tiny sensors tuned to specific frequencies. There are no ears. No thoughts, just sensitivity and response. The bee arrives. The reward is ready. A subtle exchange unfolds, sound shaping sweetness, partnership written into vibration. On rocks and cliffs, lichens continue their slow work. Part fungus, part alga or cyanobacterium, they survive in extremes: heat, cold, drought. They break down stone into soil, making life possible where none existed before. Two organisms, one life, enduring through cooperation. Even at the smallest scale, resilience repeats. Tardigrades wait, frozen, dried, pressed into stillness. They endure conditions that would destroy nearly everything else. Some scientists believe they could outlast mass extinctions, not because they dominate, but because they persist. Beneath the ground, naked mole rats move through dark tunnels. They age differently. They resist disease. Their cells remain stable over time. Living quietly, far from sunlight, they challenge what we think is possible for mammals. And you, resting here now, are a living system of astonishing complexity. Trillions of cells working together without pause, replacing themselves, communicating, cooperating. You are not fixed, you are constantly becoming. The ocean continues to hold its secrets. Vast, blue, alive, more life beneath the surface than on all the land combined. We have explored only a fraction of it. Much remains unseen, unknown, waiting. Earth is full of these quiet truths, hidden systems, ancient survivors, gentle miracles unfolding without attention. Life does not shout its brilliance. It hums. It glows softly. It waits. It adapts. As you drift toward rest, let these stories settle gently. You are part of this world, made from its elements, shaped by its history, connected to its living systems in ways both seen and unseen. Breathe slowly, let the day fade, and remember, this planet beneath you is alive, resilient, and endlessly surprising. That smooth, effortless slide through the water is a motion carved by deep time, quiet, controlled, and lasting. Rainforests don't just sit beneath the sky waiting for weather to arrive, they actively shape it. Each day, towering trees pull water up from the ground and release it through their leaves in a process known as transpiration. That moisture lifts into the air, cools, and gathers into clouds. In places like the Amazon, this nonstop recycling of water doesn't just support local rain. It influences weather patterns across entire regions. A healthy forest helps maintain its own climate, but when large areas of trees disappear, the balance breaks. With less moisture rising into the air, clouds thin, rainfall drops, and the system begins to fail. Eventually, a threshold can be crossed where the forest can no longer support itself. Rainforests aren't passive scenery. They are atmospheric engines, breathing out vapor, cloud, and life itself. When you stand beneath the canopy, you're standing inside the lungs of a continent. Along shallow coastlines, a small creature practices a strange and careful kind of disguise. Decorator crabs don't just hide among their surroundings, they turn themselves into part of the environment. Using hooked hairs on their shells, they attach bits of algae, seaweed, and sponges to their bodies. Some even place living sponges on their backs, which continue growing as the crab moves along the seafloor. This behavior serves several purposes at once. It helps them blend in, discourages predators, and in some cases provides chemical protection. Certain sponges release toxins or bitter compounds, making the crab less appealing to eat. It's not quite a mutual partnership, but it's close. A walking reef. A creature that wears its surroundings like clothing, constantly adjusting to stay unnoticed. In calm coastal waters, camouflage becomes a form of art. In sheer numbers, insects dominate the planet. For every human alive today, there are an estimated 200 million insects. They exist almost everywhere, from dense rainforest canopies to frozen tundra, from desert sands to ocean edges. Beetles alone account for nearly a quarter of all known animal species. Insects pollinate crops, recycle nutrients, break down waste, and provide food for countless other animals. They've existed for more than 400 million years and have survived every mass extinction. Some live only minutes, others for years. They build vast colonies, defend territories, and engage in surprisingly complex social behavior. Though small, their impact is enormous. Humans may think of themselves as rulers of the land, but insects were here long before us and will likely remain long after we're gone. Deep in the rainforests of New Guinea and nearby islands, beauty takes center stage. Birds of paradise display colors that seem almost unreal. Feathers shine in metallic blues, blazing oranges, and deep velvety blacks. Some grow long flowing plumes. Others unfold fans or balance on wire-like tail feathers. But appearance is only part of the story. These birds perform intricate courtship dances, each species following its own precise routine. They hop, bow, spin, and pose in carefully timed sequences, often accompanied by clicks, whistles, or wing movements. Females observe from nearby perches, choosing mates based on performance. This intense selection pressure has shaped some of the most extravagant traits in the animal kingdom. Behind every dance lies patience, practice, and evolution's flair for spectacle. In quiet corners of attics, gardens, and forests, spiders spin something remarkable. Their silk, pulled from their bodies in fine strands, is one of the strongest materials found in nature. Pound for pound, it's stronger than steel and far more flexible. It can stretch without snapping, absorb massive amounts of energy, and form delicate yet durable structures. Spider silk is made of proteins arranged in microscopic patterns, assembled with extraordinary precision. Different spiders produce different types of silk, each designed for a specific task. Some strands are sticky, others smooth, strong, or soft. Certain species can spin silk underwater or while gliding through the air. Scientists study these fibers for medical sutures, protective materials, and lightweight construction. Meanwhile, the spider continues its quiet work, weaving wonder thread by thread. On warm summer nights, darkness flickers with tiny signals. Fireflies, also called lightning bugs, communicate using light. Their blinking patterns differ by species, region, and even sex. Males flash specific rhythms while flying. Females answer from grass or branches with carefully timed responses. It's a conversation written in light. Inside their bodies, fireflies mix chemicals like luciferin and oxygen to create a cool glow that produces almost no heat. This light isn't only for romance, it also warns predators. Many fireflies taste bitter or contain mild toxins, and their glow serves as both invitation and warning. A quiet language of pulses that dances through the night air. In forests across Africa and South America, some monkeys do more than forage. They self-medicate. Researchers have watched chimpanzees and other primates deliberately seek out bitter, non-nutritive plants when sick or injured. They chew specific stems, swallow rough leaves whole, or rub substances onto their skin. Many of these plants contain compounds that fight bacteria, fungi, or parasites. Chimpanzees suffering from intestinal worms, for example, often consume bitter leaves that help purge the infection. They don't eat these plants casually, only when symptoms appear. This behavior, known as animal self-medication, challenges the idea that humans alone understand healing. Whether learned, instinctive, or both, it reveals a quiet intelligence already rooted in the forest. Every breath you take owes something to the sea. Not just forests, but oceans help fill the air with oxygen. Near the surface of the water drift microscopic organisms called phytoplankton. They perform photosynthesis just like plants, using sunlight to convert carbon dioxide into energy and releasing oxygen as a byproduct. Though individually tiny, together they are mighty. Phytoplankton are responsible for producing more than half of the oxygen on Earth. They also form the base of marine food webs, feeding everything from small zooplankton to the largest whales. Their populations rise and fall with ocean currents, temperature, and nutrients, making them deeply sensitive to changes in climate. They're invisible from shore, but everywhere. With each exhale, the ocean breathes alongside you. In forests and cities alike, black feathered figures watch the world with sharp awareness. Crows, members of the corvid family, possess intelligence that rivals some primates. They plan ahead, save tools for future use, and hide food in places they'll remember later. In experiments, crows have chosen a smaller reward now in exchange for a better one later, showing patience and foresight. They bend wires into hooks, use sticks to retrieve food, and understand cause and effect. Some can recognize individual human faces and remember those who treated them poorly, holding grudges for years. Their brains may be small, but their minds are expansive, quiet planners wrapped in feathers, always watching, always learning. For certain snakes, vision goes beyond light. Pit vipers, pythons, and boas can see heat. Special organs on their faces detect infrared radiation, allowing them to sense the body warmth of prey even in complete darkness. What they perceive isn't an image like ours, but a thermal outline, warm shapes glowing against cooler backgrounds. This ability gives them remarkable hunting accuracy at night. It's not supernatural, it's physics woven into biology. A reminder that every species experiences a different version of reality, shaped by what it needs to survive. For most of the year, the Arctic tundra lies quiet beneath ice and wind. Then summer arrives suddenly. The sun lingers in the sky, frozen ground softens, and the landscape erupts with life. Flowers bloom almost all at once. Mosses, grasses, and plants race against time. This season may last only a few weeks. Birds return to nest, insects emerge, mammals give birth and forage intensely. Everything happens fast because winter is always close behind. It's not a gentle awakening. It's a burst of urgency. In that narrow window, the tundra shows how life seizes its chance. Deep in tropical forests, a strange and unsettling story unfolds. A fungus known as cordyceps infects certain ants and slowly takes control of their behavior. Once inside, it spreads through the body and eventually influences the ant's movements. The ant leaves its colony, climbs vegetation, and clamps down onto a leaf or stem. There it dies. From its body, the fungus grows a stalk that releases spores, spreading the infection further. It's real biology, not fiction. A chilling example of how evolution can shape behavior in unexpected ways. The forest holds beauty, but also darker elegance, where even control itself can become a survival strategy. On the ocean floor, a soft-bodied creature holds an unusual power. Sea cucumbers can change the firmness of their bodies at will. When threatened or squeezed into tight spaces, they rearrange proteins in their connective tissue, turning nearly liquid in seconds. Later, they firm up again just as quickly. Some species go further, expelling internal organs to distract predators, then regenerating them later. It's an astonishing defense. Shape without bones, survival without struggle. In the slow rhythm of the sea, they dissolve and return, again and again. In Antarctic waters cold enough to freeze most life, ice fish drift calmly. Their blood contains antifreeze proteins that prevent ice crystals from forming. These proteins bind to tiny ice particles and stop them from growing, protecting tissues from damage. Ice fish are unusual in other ways too. They lack red blood cells and hemoglobin, giving their blood a pale, translucent appearance. Oxygen dissolves directly into their blood plasma instead. They move slowly through freezing seas, living where few vertebrates could survive. In the stillness beneath the ice, their biology tells a story of extreme adaptation. From the outside, termite mounds may look like simple piles of dirt. Inside, they are carefully regulated cities. Some towers rise more than 30 feet tall and house millions of termites in networks of chambers and tunnels. The most impressive feature is ventilation. These mounds use natural airflow and temperature differences to circulate air, releasing heat and drawing in cooler oxygen. The result is a stable internal climate even when outside temperatures swing wildly. No plans, no leaders, just instinct repeated until it works. Beneath our feet, insects have built systems that rival our own. Some lizards carry one of the strangest defenses in the animal world. The horned lizard, found across parts of North America, can spray blood from its eyes. When threatened, especially by predators like foxes or coyotes, it increases pressure in tiny blood vessels near its eyes until they rupture. A thin stream of blood shoots outward, carrying a foul taste that can startle or repel an attacker. The vessels heal quickly, and the lizard escapes. It's dramatic, unusual, and incredibly effective. Proof that survival doesn't always rely on speed or strength. Sometimes surprise is enough. Long before forests, fish, or even bones existed, life began in darkness. Deep beneath Earth's ancient oceans, hydrothermal vents released mineral-rich water into the sea. These environments were extreme. Crushing pressure, scalding heat, no sunlight at all. And yet life emerged. The earliest organisms were simple, single-celled, and fed not on light, but on chemicals. This process, known as chemosynthesis, may have been the first metabolism on Earth. Even today, these deep sea vents host strange ecosystems filled with tube worms, clams, and microbes that thrive without the sun. Some scientists believe similar conditions could exist on distant ocean worlds. If life exists elsewhere, it may have begun the same way. On coral reefs and rocky seafloors, starfish move slowly, almost gently. But beneath that calm exterior lies an extraordinary ability. If a starfish loses an arm, it can regrow it. Some species can regenerate an entire body from a single severed limb, as long as part of the central disc remains. This regeneration is possible because of specialized stem cells and a decentralized nervous system. Starfish don't have brains. Instead, they operate through a nerve ring and a network of sensory tubes. They rebuild themselves patiently, rewriting their bodies piece by piece. A lesson in resilience written in living tissue. Among Earth's most unusual mammals stands the platypus. It lays eggs, yet feeds its young with milk. It has a duck-like bill, webbed feet, and a beaver-like tail. Males even carry venomous spurs on their hind legs. Instead of nipples, milk seeps through pores in the mother's skin, and the young lap it from her fur. Platypuses hunt underwater with their eyes closed, using electroreception in their bills to detect prey. Every part of them seems improbable, yet perfectly functional, a living link to an ancient branch of mammalian evolution that never disappeared. When night falls, bats fill the sky, navigating not with sight, but with sound. Through echolocation, they emit high-frequency calls and listen to the echoes that bounce back. From these signals, they build detailed maps of their surroundings. Some bats can detect the movement of a single insect wing and catch it midair. Their calls are so precise they can fly through dense forests or narrow gaps without collision. To them, darkness isn't empty. It's full of shape, distance, and motion. They don't see the night, they hear it. In the wetlands of the Carolinas, a quiet predator waits. The Venus flytrap counts. Its jaws snap shut only after specific trigger hairs are touched multiple times within seconds. This prevents wasted effort on raindrops or debris. Once closed, the trap seals tight and digests its prey slowly. It doesn't think. It senses, measures, and responds. A plant performing timing and decision-making without a brain. On frozen Antarctic shores, penguins offer stones instead of songs. Males carefully select smooth pebbles and present them to females. If accepted, the stone becomes part of their shared nest. These pebble piles keep eggs elevated above melting snow. The stones matter. Penguins sometimes steal from neighbors, knowing the value of a good foundation. In a harsh world, partnership begins with a simple gift. High above oceans, some birds sleep while flying. Species like frigatebirds rest with only half their brain at a time. One side sleeps while the other remains alert enough to maintain flight and avoid danger. Their eyes even take turns closing. It's not deep sleep, but it's enough. While gliding on air currents, they drift in and out of awareness, rest and motion woven together. Inside your skull, a quiet storm is always unfolding. Every thought, memory, and emotion begins as a tiny electrical impulse traveling between neurons. Your brain holds billions of these cells, each forming thousands of connections. These signals are not mechanical. They're biological, flowing through ion channels and chemical gradients. Even in sleep, your brain hums with slow waves of activity. You are powered by sparks, invisible and constant. Beneath the waves, cuttlefish vanish in plain sight. They shift color, pattern, and texture in an instant. Their skin contains specialized cells that expand and contract, creating camouflage so precise it seems unreal. Even more surprising, cuttlefish are colorblind. They rely on contrast, brightness, and polarization, not color itself. Their bodies become living canvases, changing with mood, environment, and intent. Once a year, under a full moon, coral reefs release life all at once. Eggs and sperm spill into the water in synchronized spawning events timed to lunar cycles. The sea fills with drifting possibility. Though rooted in place, corals still move to the rhythm of celestial forces. The moon calls. The reef answers. Frogs do something unexpected when they swallow. Instead of relying only on throat muscles, they use their eyes. When a frog catches prey with its sticky tongue and pulls it into its mouth, it blinks hard. Those eyes don't just close. They sink downward into the skull, pressing against the roof of the mouth and helping push food toward the throat. A slow squeeze, a quiet swallow, and the meal is gone. Vision becomes part of digestion, a clever reuse of what evolution already had available. Plants, though rooted in place, are far from silent. When a leaf is chewed by an insect, some plants release chemical signals into the air. Nearby plants sense these invisible warnings and respond by boosting their own defenses. Leaves may become tougher, more bitter, or even toxic. The message can be specific, changing depending on whether the threat is an insect, a fungus, or something else entirely. What looks like stillness is actually communication, leaf to leaf, carried on the air. In high mountain valleys and northern forests, some trees have mastered patience on an enormous scale. Quaking aspens can clone themselves through underground root systems. New trunks rise from the same genetic individual, spreading outward year after year. One such colony, known as Pando, may be over 80,000 years old. Individual trees die, but the organism remains. A forest that is also a single being, quietly persisting across ice ages and centuries. Below the soil surface, earthworms work endlessly. As they burrow, they loosen compacted ground, allowing air and water to reach plant roots. They consume decaying organic matter and return it as nutrient-rich castings that enrich the soil. Their movement mixes minerals and organic material, building the foundation for healthy ecosystems. Though rarely noticed, they are among the planet's most important engineers, shaping the ground that supports life above. On open savannas, giraffes rest far less than most animals. They sleep in short bursts, sometimes standing, sometimes briefly lying down. In total, they may sleep less than 2 hours a day. Their size and height make them vulnerable, so constant alertness is essential. Even at rest, one giraffe often remains watchful. Somehow, this minimal sleep is enough. Their bodies are tuned for survival in wide, exposed landscapes. In landfills and soil, life is adapting to modern problems. Certain microbes have evolved the ability to break down plastics. Some bacteria and fungi produce enzymes that digest materials like PEC, commonly used in bottles. The process is slow, but it works. Scientists now study these organisms to improve recycling methods. Even in environments shaped by human waste, life finds new opportunities. Across icy tundra, Arctic foxes shift with the seasons. In winter, their fur turns pure white, blending seamlessly with snow and ice. In summer, it darkens to browns and grays that match rock and vegetation. Their coats are thick enough to withstand extreme cold, and even their paws are furred. Season by season, the fox becomes its environment, a moving reflection of the land. Far below the ocean's surface lies a world that feels alien. The deep sea is dark, cold, and under immense pressure, yet it's filled with life. Fish with glowing lures, translucent predators, drifting jellyfish, and creatures that survive on chemicals instead of sunlight. Many have enormous mouths, strange shapes, or the ability to produce light. We've explored only a small fraction of this realm. What we've seen suggests Earth still holds vast unknowns. Some birds have learned to use tools. New Caledonian crows shape sticks to extract insects. Egyptian vultures drop rocks to crack open eggs. Woodpecker finches use twigs like tweezers. These birds select, modify, and apply tools with intention. In some cases, young birds learn by watching adults, passing knowledge across generations. Intelligence, it seems, doesn't require hands. In deserts, camels move with quiet efficiency. They can go weeks without drinking, then consume enormous amounts of water in minutes. Their humps store fat, not water, providing energy and metabolic moisture when broken down. Their bodies conserve water through specialized kidneys and variable body temperature. Wide feet, long lashes, and tough lips complete the design. They are not just survivors, they are experts in scarcity. Before a chick ever sees the world, it begins to communicate. Inside the egg, chicks chirp softly. Mothers respond, adjusting their behavior. Even siblings can hear one another, helping coordinate hatching. This early exchange builds bonds and synchronizes development. The egg is not a silent space, it's alive with quiet conversation. Deep in rainforests, fig trees follow a remarkable cycle. Each species relies on a tiny wasp to pollinate its flowers. The wasp lays eggs inside some flowers, ensuring both reproduction and the next generation of pollinators. Without this intricate partnership, neither the fig nor the wasp could survive. Life here is a web of dependencies, each thread delicate but vital. Octopuses show intelligence that rivals some mammals. They can solve puzzles, escape enclosures, and remember solutions. Some have been observed using coconut shells or shells from other animals as tools or shelters. Each arm moves semi-independently, sensing and manipulating objects. Their brains are not centralized like ours, much of their thinking happens in their lungs. They are fluid minds, literal and metaphorical shapeshifters. Butterflies navigate across continents using the sun, landmarks, and Earth's magnetic field. Monarchs, for example, travel thousands of kilometers to reach overwintering sites in Mexico. Some of these insects they've never visited before. Somehow, inherited instincts guide them, combining with environmental cues. The journey is perilous, but generations of monarchs complete it faithfully, an ancient map encoded in tiny wings. Elephants remember water sources and migration routes for decades. Their family groups operate on deep social bonds, with older matriarchs leading the herd. They recognize individuals, mourn their dead, and cooperate to care for calves. Some populations even modify tools like using branches to swat flies or scratch themselves. Memory and empathy guide their lives as much as survival instincts. Fungi often act as hidden connectors. Mycorrhizal networks link trees and plants underground, exchanging nutrients and information. Some plants share carbon or warning signals through these fungal internet connections. One tree attacked by insects may send chemical signals through the fungi, prompting neighbors to activate defenses. The forest is alive beneath our feet, a network of cooperation and silent strategy. Bats navigate night skies using echolocation. High-frequency calls bounce off insects and objects, returning echoes that map surroundings in remarkable detail. Some species catch hundreds of insects per hour, while others locate fruit or nectar. Echolocation is not just hearing, it is active sensing, a constant conversation between the bat and its environment. Night becomes a full landscape, painted in sound. Salamanders regrow limbs, hearts, even parts of their brains. Cells at the site of injury revert to a more primitive, flexible state, then rebuild tissues with remarkable accuracy. Scientists study this to understand regeneration and healing in humans. The process is not simple repair, it is biological rewriting, a return to possibility before development locked things in. In kelp forests, sunlight powers towering underwater cities. Kelp can grow over 1 meter per day, creating habitats for fish, invertebrates, and marine mammals. The forests dampen wave energy, stabilize sediments, and cycle nutrients. These fast-growing algae shape entire coastal ecosystems, supporting life in ways that mirror terrestrial forests. Peregrine falcons dive at speeds exceeding 300 times/h. In those moments, air resistance and gravity combine into a precise weapon. Their eyes track prey with astonishing clarity, and feathers stiffen to reduce turbulence. A calculated stoop is both physics and instinct, a mastery of motion perfected by evolution. Even in extreme environments like hydrothermal vents, life thrives. Chemosynthetic bacteria convert sulfur and minerals into energy, forming the base of a complex ecosystem. Tube worms, clams, and crabs feed on these bacteria, entirely independent of sunlight. Darkness and heat become a canvas for life's inventiveness. Migratory birds cross oceans and continents with astonishing precision. Arctic terns, for example, travel from the Arctic to the Antarctic and back each year, over 70,000 kilometers. They rely on magnetic fields, star patterns, and visual landmarks, combining inherited instincts with learned roots. Each generation continues the journey, an epic saga written in tiny feathers. Sharks have existed for over 400 million years, predating trees. Their senses detect electric fields, pressure changes, and vibrations in ways humans cannot imagine. Some species migrate thousands of kilometers, guided by invisible cues in the ocean. Apex predators, they maintain the balance of marine ecosystems, ancient architects of the seas. Whales communicate across hundreds of kilometers with low-frequency calls. Songs evolve over years and spread through populations, a language in motion. Pods coordinate, hunt, and nurture young with complex social signals. These ocean giants are not solitary. They are communities echoing through water and time. Coral reefs are vibrant cities of cooperation. Corals host algae that provide energy through photosynthesis, while small fish and invertebrates maintain the reef by grazing or cleaning. Each species contributes to stability, but reefs are fragile. Rising temperatures and acidification threaten these biodiverse metropolises. Their collapse would erase millennia of silent engineering. Crows demonstrate problem-solving skills that rival primates. They use tools, plan for the future, and even recognize human faces. In some experiments, crows drop nuts onto roads for cars to crack open, then retrieve them when traffic pauses. Intelligence emerges in many forms, shaped by necessity and curiosity. Plants compete and cooperate simultaneously. Some release chemicals that inhibit neighbors. Others attract pollinators or protect symbiotic fungi. Roots can grow toward nutrient-rich zones, avoiding competition, or extend into shared networks. Life in soil is a constant negotiation, a hidden chessboard of chemical messages and growth strategies. Ant colonies operate like superorganisms. Each individual has a simple role, yet together they forage efficiently, build complex nests, and defend territories. Decisions emerge from collective behavior, without central control. Intelligence in this sense is distributed across thousands of tiny minds. Deep-sea anglerfish lure prey with bioluminescent appendages. In darkness where sunlight never penetrates, their lights attract victims and mates. Adaptations are extreme. Some females permanently attach to males, relying on them for reproduction. Survival shapes the strangest solutions. The axolotl retains larval features into adulthood, a phenomenon called neoteny. Unlike most amphibians, it remains aquatic, gilled, and capable of regenerating body parts. Evolution sometimes chooses stasis and flexibility over change, creating living experiments in persistence. Fireflies communicate with bioluminescent signals, each species with its own pattern. Mating becomes a language of flashes, sometimes mimicked by predators. Light becomes both seduction and deception, a dialogue written in chemistry and timing. Octopuses are masters of disguise and problem-solving. Their skin changes color and texture in an instant, blending into coral, sand, or rocks. They can open jars, navigate mazes, and even exhibit play behavior. Intelligence here is fluid, literally and figuratively, expressed through a body without bones but with a mind that adapts continuously. Elephants mourn their dead, recognize themselves in mirrors, and communicate with infrasonic rumbles that travel kilometers. Herds maintain social cohesion, guiding young and injured members. Memory is both a tool and a bridge, recalling water sources, threats, and ancestral knowledge. Bats, often misunderstood, are essential pollinators and insect controllers. Some migrate thousands of kilometers, using echolocation to navigate in complete darkness. Their wings are delicate instruments of flight, folding and unfolding with precision that humans can only attempt mechanically. Sequoias and redwoods tower for millennia, their bark resisting fire and decay. They host entire ecosystems in their branches, from birds to fungi. Longevity in these trees is a testament to slow growth, resilience, and adaptation to environmental pressures over thousands of years. Polar bears track seals across frozen expanses, relying on scent and patience. Climate change challenges this ancient dance, forcing them to travel farther, hunt longer, and adapt to shrinking ice. Survival becomes not just instinct, but an ongoing negotiation with a changing world. Meerkats teach their young vigilance and cooperation. Sentinels watch for predators while others forage, a society built on shared risk and communication. Life in harsh environments demands not just survival but coordination. Some fish, like the cleaner wrasse, engage in reciprocal behavior, removing parasites from larger fish. Trust and memory underpin these tiny interactions, demonstrating that cooperation can emerge even in simple nervous systems. Bacteria, though microscopic, shape every ecosystem. They fix nitrogen, decompose waste, and even influence human health. Their rapid reproduction allows experimentation with evolution itself, creating resilience through sheer numbers and genetic fluidity. Mangrove forests protect coasts while hosting complex networks of life. Roots stabilize soil, trap nutrients, and shelter fish, crustaceans, and birds. Their survival is intertwined with tides, storms, and human impact, a delicate balance of resistance and dependency. Sea turtles navigate vast oceans, returning decades later to the exact beach where they were born. Magnetoreception and inherited instinct guide them, an interplay of biology and environment spanning generations. Crows and ravens rival primates in intelligence. They fashion tools, remember human faces, and plan for future needs. Stories circulate in their flocks, lessons of danger and reward, showing that culture is not exclusive to humans. Dolphins use signature whistles to identify individuals, hunt cooperatively, and even assist injured peers. Their intelligence manifests in social sophistication, problem-solving, and play, blurring the lines between instinct and conscious strategy. Coral reefs are bustling cities of life, built by tiny polyps working over centuries. Each reef is both fragile and resilient, responding to temperature, acidity, and human interference. The reef's survival hinges on symbiosis: algae, coral, fish, and microbes all supporting each other. Prairie dogs issue specific alarm calls that describe the type of predator and its size. These calls influence group behavior and provide a rare example of semantic communication in non-human species. Honeybees perform waggle dances to convey the location of nectar, illustrating how complex information can be encoded and shared in nonverbal ways. Their colonies operate as decentralized brains, where each bee contributes to the collective intelligence. Octopuses' short lifespans contrast with their intelligence, showing that cognition can evolve rapidly and intensely even if it is not long-lived. The fleeting nature of their lives underscores adaptability over longevity. Ant colonies operate like superorganisms, with individuals performing specialized roles that maintain the colony's survival. Decisions emerge from local interactions rather than centralized control, demonstrating intelligence distributed across many simple agents. Wolves hunt in packs with remarkable coordination, using vocalizations, body language, and role specialization. Leadership is flexible, and group cohesion ensures survival in challenging environments. Sharks navigate oceans using electroreception, detecting the electrical fields generated by other organisms. Their sensory sophistication, honed over millions of years, allows them to sense prey hidden beneath sand or vegetation. Fungi networks underground connect trees, plants, and soil in a web of nutrient and information exchange. Mycorrhizal networks demonstrate that cooperation and communication extend beyond the animal kingdom into ecosystems themselves.